What's going on, people? Today we are talking AJ versus Dubois early predictions. Like, share, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into today's video. So AJ versus Dubois, Riyadh season, 21st of September. It is going to be a banger. This is going to be a really good fight card. I've done a little prediction video on the undercard for this fight already, just like early kind of thoughts on this video, but on this fight, should I say, this fight card. But today I want to talk about AJ versus Dubois, the main event. Just some early predictions. I will do another video breaking down some footage, a little bit of footage analysis of how AJ fought Usyk, how Dubois fought Usyk, and also their last fights, most recent fights. But I'll mention it today, but today we're just gonna put a little quick prediction out. So quick prediction for me, AJ wins by stoppage. There you go, done. Now let me explain my thoughts why. I think Daniel Dubois is really coming to his own. He's a very good fighter. I want to talk about what Daniel Dubois does well and what he's done much better now. Obviously, he's had some, let's just say, questions over his mental strength in the past, but we've seen that in his last two fights, he's overcome a lot of obstacles. Now, especially with the Jarrell Miller fight now, Jarrell Miller's not the best fighter. He isn't really up there in any way, sense or shape, whatever. But he was definitely a difficult mountain to overcome, almost literally a mountain. He was 100 pounds heavier than Dubois. He had a good gas tank, or seemingly good gas tank, was just moving forward. And Dubois did well to adapt in that fight. First few rounds, he was not looking good, and you can start to see that Miller putting that pressure on him, putting that weight on him, was starting to affect him quite a bit. Now, towards the mid to later rounds, he started to listen to his corner quite well. He started to use his feet. He started to hit and move, and keep himself out of those clinches and out of getting leaned on against. Now, Dubois throws very good combinations, very good combination shots. He doesn't really throw straight shots. He throws a lot of looping shots over the top. He has a deceptively fast jab, has a decent fast jab. Yeah, and he has decent feet as well. When he really wants to move, he has decent feet. Now, a big strength he has going into the AJ fight is that I believe his gas tank is a little bit better. Maybe quite a bit. I don't want to say quite a bit, but a little bit better. Now, we saw in the Miller fight, he was able to get to the last round, and even getting to the last round, he was still being able to stop Miller in those last 10 seconds because he was still throwing punches with venom and was throwing punches in bunches and still seemed to have a nice spring in his step. We see he hasn't gone to 12 rounds that often, Dubois, so it's kind of hard to really judge it. If we look at Dubois versus Hrgović, now, it's a mixture on that one. Now, Hrgović was absolutely, his gas tank is shocking and very bad. But Dubois really picked up again towards them, we're saying in mid rounds. Obviously, he stopped in the kind of near mid rounds anyway. But in the first few rounds, Dubois was getting hit with those right hands. He was not moving out of the way of the shots. And then when he started to adjust to it, he did start to move his head a little bit, did start to slip slightly. Some of those right hands, he did start to take those half steps back and kind of get his feet moving, and seemed to always have a spring in his step, even as it got later on into the fight, and was eventually able to overwhelm Hrgović. Now, we will not be silly, like a lot of people are being, and ignore the fact that Dubois was headbutting Hrgović quite extensively, which I actually think is what caused the cut. And we're also not going to ignore the fact that Dubois was getting lit up quite a lot, and the fight was stopped on cuts and it wasn't stopped on a knockout, but you know, it was probably going one way anyway. But that was also due to Hrgović not having the best gas tank. Now, he could utilize this, Dubois. He could try to utilize this against AJ, try and tire him out and then overwhelm him with his cardio and overwhelm him with punches. That is a possibility, but I just don't think it will happen. I think Dubois does make adjustments, not the best, but he does make adjustments. He did in the Hrgović fight, but by the time he makes those adjustments, I believe in this fight, it may be too late. Now, I believe AJ gets this done early. Let's talk about AJ's strengths and weaknesses a little bit. Now, AJ's gas tank in comparison to Dubois, we haven't seen it tested too much. There was a lot of talk about the Ruiz one fight, a lot of talk about the Klitschko fight or the Usyk fights. The fights where he didn't look the greatest in terms of his gas tank. Now, the difference is that AJ and this AJ is very different. He did look exhausted in the Usyk fight, but you have Usyk in front of you. Usyk does that to everyone. All the big men in front of him that he fights, he sets a crazy pace. With the Ruiz fight, he got hit. It was the punch that did the damage. It wasn't necessarily the pace. Now, also, it was part of it was the inexperience of Joshua. He was trying to throw bombs, putting his body weight into every single shot. And that's going to tire you out quicker, especially as such a big, heavyweight as himself, and an athletic heavyweight as himself. If we look at Anthony Joshua now, there's a vast difference in the way he fights. And yes, you can say, oh yeah, but that was Wallen and that was Ngannou. Very, very true. But you can see how he was reserving his punches. And in fact, we can even look before that. Even in fights where he wasn't looking that great, we can say for the Helenius fight, he didn't look great, but his gas tank was holding up because he wasn't necessarily committing to every shot. If we take it even further back to the Pulev fight, that fight went late. People will say it went later than it should have. AJ hurt Pulev, I believe, in the 3rd round, and then almost emptied the tank to try and put him away, and then Pulev didn't go away. Very tough customer. But he still took a couple rounds off and was able to come back and stop Pulev a bit later on in the fight. So we need to consider all of these things when we start to consider AJ's gas tank. With how he is now, I think he's much better at conserving his energy, at being a little bit of a sniper when it comes to throwing that 100% shot. So I think he's going to be a lot better with his gas tank now. And in terms of AJ's strengths, why I feel he's going to stop Dubois, I say before the 5th round he'll stop Dubois. And like I said before, because I don't believe Dubois makes those adjustments early enough. I think he's going to be caught with those right hands a little bit too quick, or a little bit too often. By the time he wants to make those adjustments, it may be too late. And you know, you could say, oh well, he's learned from the other fight, and he could have. You know, he might be thinking about, I'm not going to get caught with that right hand, and let me try and do something else. But AJ does have a lot more in his arsenal than just a right hand. Let's not forget his rear uppercut. Let's not forget his rear uppercut to left hook, and his pull counter as well. That's another big thing. Like, Dubois is someone who does rush in quite a lot. He does really, sometimes he's very aggressive on his movement. He's very pushing forward. He is fast as well, but like I said, he doesn't make that adjustment with his feet early enough. So if he does rush a little bit too much and try to go for AJ, I do see AJ with a nice pull counter to hurt Dubois. If we look at AJ's boxing skill, for me, it's levels above Dubois. If we look at that Ruiz 2 performance, another 12-round performance, it's a very different performance. People say that AJ ran. For me, you're an idiot and you don't know boxing. Like, that's the truth of it. It wasn't as destructive as a lot of people might have wanted to see, but if you watch that fight back, watch it back again, he completely changed his style and was jabbing and moving, yes, but he's also hitting him with right hands and getting out of there. He was doing very, very good boxing. And if AJ really thought it might be a struggle with Dubois, he could revert back to type, but I don't believe he will with Ben Davison. I think it will be a mixture between box and move and destructive boxing, conservative boxing, conserving your energy for the right time. So, thought it would be a quick video. It wasn't, but that's my early predictions on Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. I believe AJ stops him before the 5th, maybe 6th round. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be easy either. I don't think it's just going to be a cakewalk. I think Dubois is going to put everything into trying to stop Anthony Joshua. His head hitting in low, who knows, but he's going to put everything in. We'll see what happens. I'll be doing another video with a little breakdown of their fights, some of the stuff they do well, some of the stuff they don't do so well. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. See you soon. Peace.